Hey, it's Joe. This question is from Billy Shumway. He's saying, hello, Joe. I was wanting to know if one can still use all your methods with the Dodd-Frank Act, like land contracts or for rent methods or subject to. First of all, I'm going to direct you to an article that I wrote on my blog. If you just type in Dodd-Frank into the search of my blog, you'll be able to find an article that I wrote on this. But the thing to remember about Dodd-Frank, first of all, it's 1,000 pages long. It's been in effect for a while, and new pieces keep coming online, but most of it still has not been implemented. And almost none of it has actually been contested in court. So we don't know exactly how it's going to play out. It wasn't designed for people who are doing honorable business. It was designed to keep people from taking advantage of the system. It was designed to keep mortgage companies from running amok like they did right before the crash. It was just crazy what was happening and the way the predatory lending and the stuff that was going on at the time. And these banks were abusing the system. And Dodd-Frank is set up to do, to try to stop that. Now, whenever you try to stop something, you always go overboard, or at least most of the time the government does. So Dodd-Frank creates some problems for us. One of the things you need to look out for in the Dodd-Frank, and there's several things, but one of the things you need to look out for is putting private money together, pulling it together, and being a general partner and managing this money for these people and doing deals with their money in that structure as a general partner. With an LLC, it's different, but as a general partner, you have control of that money. So you have to be very careful about not intermingling those funds, first of all. So there's some question that you might need to have a securities license in order to do that type of deal. Well, we don't do those types of deals very often. What we're doing is just flipping properties outright. So I don't think you're going to have problems with the Dodd-Frank the way we're doing it now. And we'll have to wait and see what comes before the court, if anything does, in the future to see if we have to modify what we're doing. One of the things we've learned in the past, and I've learned it over and over again because I've seen these types of things, these types of legislations come and go. One of the legislations was the lease option laws that were created in Texas. Those lease option laws made it very difficult to do lease options in Texas. We found a way to do it that complies with their process. And we still comply with their process. But I also know a lot of people that are doing lease options in Texas the same way you do them all over the country, and I don't know anyone who's come afoul of that regulation or that law or has had to pay the price that everybody, all the attorneys and all the experts said we're going to be popping up on these folks if they did lease options. So none of it was actually implemented. None of it has been brought to court. As far as I know, I haven't seen it, and I do business in Texas. I have properties in Texas, and I've got a lot of students who are in Texas, so I'm watching this stuff all the time. I would suggest that you comply with the rules as they're needed, but don't be afraid of the rules. Just make sure that you're following through with the process the way you need to that still makes you money. I was also in a situation once where I talked to my attorney, and my attorney said, no, you can't do business this way, because if you do, then you come up against this situation. And I'm not going to get into it because it's not really directly related to real estate, but it was just attorney advice. And I looked at the way he was telling me to do my business, and I knew that by doing it that way, it would shut me down. It would completely destroy the business that I was doing, the way I was doing it, because there was no way that I could really comply with what they were doing. Everything I was doing was perfectly legal. Everything I was doing was ethical and moral and watching out for the people. I was not hurting anyone. But he was telling me that in order to comply to this particular rule, you are going to have to change your business. Instead of taking his advice, I went and talked to another attorney. And that attorney said, well, ignore that situation and just keep doing business the way you're doing and see what happens. And that's what I did, because the risk of stopping my business and shutting down my business was much higher than complying with that particular regulation. So we did it. We took a few steps to make sure that we didn't run afoul of that problem again. And That's been many years ago, and I've not had any problems with it since. So don't necessarily take the advice of the first attorney you talk to, because that attorney might be giving you advice that is highly protective. Yes, you won't have any problems at all if you do it the way this attorney says, but being in business means that there are going to be problems. You're going to run you're going to run into issues that people will try to sue you, or try to come up against you, or they'll try to fight you, or maybe you'll have a government regulator that will come on and try to say you can't do business that way. Well, you have to learn how to do business and get around those issues and still do it in a way that is not going to get you into trouble. Now, I'm not saying to do things that are unethical. I'm not saying outright break the law. I'm saying that make sure that you continue to do the things that you know that you need to do in order to make your business work, and then have an attorney that you can talk to that'll give you some advice and say, at least, well, if you do it this way, here's what the risks are. Are you acceptable? Are these risks acceptable to you? And if they are, then move forward. Take an attorney's advice. And again, disclaimer, I'm not an attorney. I don't even play one on TV. I can't give you legal advice. I'm just giving you my experience from my many years in this business. All right, good luck. Bye-bye.